on this computer. All right, guys, the recording started. Okay, so guys, now let's actually start talking about Sai Venkat joined. Okay, let's actually start talking about the next steps. All right, so give me one moment, guys. We have covered all this. I'm going to the place wherein we did not cover it. Okay, so we have covered all this, right? So guys, today what we'll do is we'll actually revise a few things and also introduce a few new concepts. Okay, so we have actually talked about some of the okay, Vinod Kumar. Okay, so we have actually talked about all this, right? In the performance testing lifecycle, what would happen? Okay, what would happen? Initially, at least for the service-based companies, what would happen? There would be an RFI, RFP that would be floated, and you would have to answer that particular RFI, RFP. Once you answer, once you get the project, you would go for requirements gathering. You would go for requirements gathering, and probably if it is a difficult project or anything, then you might actually start doing a POC. Okay, and once that is complete, then you would actually do a test plan, and you would get the sign off of the test plan from the client. In the test plan, you would also do this effort estimates, and you would actually include the effort estimates in the test plan. Then once the test plan is agreed by the client, then you would actually do the scripting. You would get the script reviewed, sanity tested, and everything. You would get that for all the scripts. Then you would set up the test environment. You would do a smoke test, sanity test, dry runs, trial runs, shakeout test, whatever that you call it as. You would do, guys, all this, the smoke test, sanity test, dry run, trial run, shakeout test, all this is the same test. Okay, it is multiple naming convention of the same test. In multiple companies, in different companies, they would use different terms. All right, you should be aware of all these terms. All right, guys, especially people with a little bit of experience, they should actually be aware of all these terms. Okay, yes, guys. And even the trained freshers, you are expected to know about all this. All are same. The smoke, whether you call it a smoke test, sanity test, dry run, trial run, shakeout test, all these are same. Of course, we did not talk. Of course, we did not talk about all this, right? So we will actually talk about this and try to find out what exactly these are. All right, and if we see any issues with the scripts, and if we see any issues with the test environment, we would actually try and fix them. Okay, and then we'll go for the test executions. Whatever the tests that we have actually agreed in the test plan, we would go for that particular test executions. Then we'll go for the reporting. Okay, high level report, detailed report, will go for the reporting. Then we'll analyze the test results properly, and we'll do the recommendations according to the test results. We'll do the recommendations, and then if our job requires, then we would do the application tuning, and we'll try to eliminate the performance bottlenecks. All right, and then we'll go for the reporting and sign off. Okay, clear about it, guys? Some of the new terms that we have introduced over here, what are those new terms? One is smoke test, smoke, sanity, dry run, trial run, shakeout test. What is this test?
A dry run to check the scripts working fine or not.
Exactly. We have done the scripting, and for that particular scripts, whether those particular scripts are properly working or not, that we would do it with the actual data that has been specified for the performance test. Okay, we would check with that particular data, and we would check whether that data is working fine, whether the scripts are working fine, whether the environment is working fine. All that we would actually try to check in one shot. Okay, all the scripts together we would actually try to test. Okay. Yes, guys. one
Yes,
more
sure.
benefit one more benefit is with a small user load, we would while doing the scripting, we might actually put in only one or two users, right? We would not actually test the proper the complete environment. But at the level of smoke test, we would actually put in multiple users load, and with a small user load, the application would actually be tested to start with. Okay, clear guys?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now guys, one more important term that has been introduced over here is bottleneck. We did not talk about exactly about bottleneck, right? So what is a bottleneck?
The issues we are facing.
General English term, yeah, you're right. The issues that we are facing, we'll try to eliminate the performance issues that we are facing. But what is the general English term? What is a bottleneck?
Yes.
General English term, guys.
Last minute issues, last minute.
Uh, let's just assume that this is a bottle. This is how the bottle looks like, right? Yes,
Yep.
guys. Right?
Yes.
This is how. Sorry. This is how the bottle looks like, right?
Mhm.
So what is a bottleneck? Yes, guys.
Uh,
What is a bottleneck?
At the end of the bottle.
This is the
Yeah.
bottleneck, right? This is the bottleneck. This particular part is known as bottleneck. The neck, your human neck. This is bottleneck. Okay. This is the head of the bottle. This is the neck of the bottle. What is the importance of this bottleneck? You can also have a bottle like this, right? You can also have a bottle like this. But most of the bottles are designed this way. Why? What is the use of the bottle?
uh,
Reduce the flow.
In order to drink water or anything. So if the bottle is
So
designed this way, what would happen? Some of the bottles are actually designed this way, but if the bottle is designed this way, what would happen?
the
the
flow will not
quantity
come.
The
water
flow
will.
will not be reduced. The moment
Reduced.
you take the bottle up, all the water would come onto your face at once. Okay, but with this bottleneck, what would happen? The flow would be reduced. It would
Reduced.
stop the flow. It would slowly allow the water to come. Okay, in this case, guys, it is the design. You would have to reduce the flow. That is your requirement, right? But in the normal, in the case of performance, guys, when you are actually trying to access an application, you want all the information to be coming up as fast as possible. You want the bottle to be looking something like this. You don't want any necks. Okay, you don't want any necks. You want the information to come as soon as possible and show up as soon as possible. Is that clear?
Yes.
Yes, guys. You want to eliminate this particular bottleneck. You want to ensure that the bottle is designed this way. Okay,
Okay.
Yes, sure.
right? So, guys, these are as Pawan was saying in the previous geometry session. These are some important terms, guys. Okay, we would think that these are very simple terms. These are terms that might not have real importance, but then guys, in the real time, these are the terms that are used, and if you do not know the proper meaning of it, then what would happen? You would actually get very easily caught in the interview or in the first few days of your job. Okay, so you would have to understand all these terms, and that way it would be very easy for you to go through it. Okay, clear about it, guys?
Yes, sure.
Now guys,
Yes.
we have actually talked about this RFI and RFP, right? What is RFI? What is RFI? Request for information. And what is RFP? Request for proposal. Okay, so what are the different things that you would go through the RFI and RFP? We will actually discuss it a bit later, but we'll actually show you a couple documents on RFI and RFP, and we'll show you what are the different things that are there in those particular documents. But what we would do now is we would try to answer what is the requirements gathering. NFR. What is NFR, guys, again?
Non-functional requirements.
Perfect,
Non-functional
non-functional
requirements.
requirements. Okay, so we'll try to answer what exactly is there in this particular non-functional requirements, and we would actually, go through this. Okay, so probably we have covered a little, guys, but then I would want to go through it in a proper fashion. Like, what exactly are the what exactly are the questions that would be there in this particular requirements gathering? I would actually want to show you. Okay, and guys, the requirements gathering document would actually be different in different companies. Okay, according to their own requirements, according to their own projects, they would actually design their requirements gathering document. So the experienced guys or the freshers, or whenever you actually try to especially the experienced guys, when you join a project, the first thing that you would actually try to ask is, okay, do you have a test plan? Do you have a requirements gathering document? Can I verify the scripts? Okay, these are the first few questions that you would ask, which would give you some time in order to review those particular documents and will get you ready for the project. Okay, clear about it, guys? And go in a sequence. First go through the requirements gathering, then go through the test plan, and then go through the scripts. That way you would actually be able to understand, okay, this was the requirement, this is how the test plan is made, and then this is how the scripts are being developed. Okay, yes, guys.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what is this particular what are the different questions that are there in the requirements gathering? All right, and guys, the reason why I'm skipping this RFI and RFP at this particular point of time is the RFI and RFP would be done in the real initial stages of the project, and that usually will be done by the performance test managers and all, guys. Okay, they would actually take care of that, and that you would actually get it at some 10-15 years of experience. You would not face it right away at the 4 or 5 years of experience, right? But anyways, we'll go through those documents, but not at this level. Okay, clear about it, guys?
Yes, sir.
Right. Now, what is there in the requirements gathering? Even though this requirements gathering also would be done by much more experienced guys, we would have to understand what all is there in this, and based upon this itself, your all your further steps would go on, guys. So that is the reason why we would have to understand this particular requirements gathering carefully. Okay. So what do you mean by requirements gathering? Basically, what do you mean by requirements gathering? What you have to do in this particular performance test project, that is what you are actually trying to get information on in this requirements gathering. Guys, what would happen is, if you start asking random questions, what would happen? You might miss to ask some question, and the client might not actually have the mind of giving you that particular information. And you know y- when you would find it at the end of the project, when the whole project is complete, that is when you would find that you have actually missed to ask that particular question, and that is some very, very important requirement for the whole project to come through, and your whole project would be not really important. Okay, so what usually we would do is we would design a document in order to gather all the requirements, in order to ensure that we do not miss out on any questions. Okay, is that clear, guys? Yes,
Yes, Sham.
guys. Yeah.
Yes, Sham.
Fortunately or unfortunately, I had to make up a requirements gathering documents in my previous two projects. Okay, we have been, I mean, people had been asking the questions all along, but then it was always it was the case that they have missed some question, and at the end of the project, that would blow up. Okay, so I was involved in preparing a proper document in order to gather all these requirements, and that actually helped us a lot. Okay, they still say that, you know what, this is Shyam's document. So that is one good thing that I have done in my previous 2 projects. All right. Anyways, what are the different things that are there in the requirements gathering? What is the very, very important thing is, what is the timeline? In order to complete this project, what is the timeline? Okay. When do you start? When do you complete? When would you start? Especially the performance testing project, when would you start?
After functional testing or deployment.
In the waterfall method, yes, you are right. When the functional testing is complete. Okay. Especially, it should, even if it is not complete, it should not have any major bugs that would actually restrict the flow of the performance testing. Okay. We would actually try to ensure that there are no major bugs in the functional testing. At that point, we might actually want to start with the performance testing. But what would happen in the agile projects? And guys, the agile projects are the ones which are mostly used these days. Okay. Agile projects are the ones which are mostly being used these days. Okay. Everything is being developed in the agile. Why? Yes, guys, why? We've already discussed about this. Why is agile famous?
It takes less time to.
Go to the
It is
market.
much
We can
flexible.
make any changes.
And we
Tasks
can
can be divided.
tasks can be divided. We can make changes faster. If something is failing, we would actually be able to understand it faster. Okay, we would be able to test it faster, and we can actually capture the market faster. Okay, nobody, guys, we are developing, especially when we are developing very, very complex applications, which could take years of development. Nobody has the time and effort, time and patience in order to wait for so much time, guys. Okay, you would have to go to the market extremely fast. Okay, you would have to go to the market extremely fast. Otherwise, what would happen? Your competitors would go to the market, and your competitors would establish themselves in the market. Okay, and they would actually start using it. People would get loyal to those your competitors, and you might not even get the chance. Okay, so you have to go to the market as soon as possible, guys. All right.
Right, Shyam.
So
Yes, sure.
agile would help you in that way. So what would agile do? In the agile, the most important thing is, what are the most important features? What are the most important features that the users, the target users of this application would require? And you would actually take that particular most important features. We call them as user stories. Okay, we call them as user stories. Okay, we take those particular user stories in the sense, okay, I log into the iccibank.com website. I should be able to view my account balance, or I should be able to view my last 10 transactions that I have done. This is a user story. Okay, you should be able to define what exactly you want to do in simple English terms. That is a user story. All right. Yes, guys.
Yes.
Okay, so those user stories would be developed, and whatever are the most important user stories which would actually require the go to the market, those user stories would be developed first, would be tested first, would be performance tested first, and would go to the market. Okay, clear about it, guys?
Yes, Shyam.
Yes.
So
Clear, sir.
so why did we discuss about all that? In the agile, guys, what would happen is, whenever that particular small component is developed, whenever that particular user story is developed, you might actually have to jump into the performance testing. Okay, once it is tested, and once it is once it is developed and once it is tested, you would actually have to do the performance testing on that particular part. Okay, clear about that, guys?
Yes, Shyam.
Yes, sure.
Yeah.
Yes, sure.
So guys, when would you start the performance testing?
After
After all
completing the
function
purpose,
testing.
Functional testing, we are not serving tasks.
be very clear, guys. In the waterfall method, after completing the after ensuring that there are no major bugs in the functional testing, we would start the performance testing. Whereas in the agile method, we would actually have to start the performance testing for maybe for every sprint. Okay. And what is a sprint?
Which lasts for 2 weeks.
Usually it would last for
Something a
2 weeks.
particular time period.
Yeah. The development, the testing, the performance testing, the deployment, everything should be able to we should be able to complete within the sprint life cycle. Okay. And that sprint life cycle usually would last for 2 weeks, but
2 weeks.
that depends upon the company, guys. That depends upon the project, and that depends upon the company. There are projects wherein they would take it for a week, only for a week, and there are companies which would take it for months, 1 month, 2 months as well. Okay. But I have not seen a place wherein it has actually taken more than
14 days.
no. I have seen a company wherein we have actually done for 6 weeks. Okay.
78
The
hours.
sprint lasted for
21 days.
6 weeks, guys. 21
Okay.
days
Okay.
is like only 3 weeks, right? So 6 weeks is 42 days. Okay.
Hmm.
That is the maximum that I have seen, guys. I have not seen a sprint lasting for more than that. Okay, but possible. I do not know. Okay, but the whole concept of agile dissolves if the sprint goes more than 6 weeks or 8 weeks, guys. Okay, the whole concept of agile is to actually go to the market faster. Okay, if it is more than 2 months, then the whole concept of agile dissolves. Right? Clear about it, guys?
Yes, Shyam.
Right. So, what is the current project timeline to begin and close the testing activities? You have to be very careful over here, whether it is a waterfall project or an agile project. And if it is a waterfall project, then when would you start and when would you end? And you would also have to be very careful in the waterfall project because the development cycle is complete. The major bugs in the functional testing also have been resolved. So when you actually raise a bug in the performance testing, guys, saying that the performance of this particular application is not looking good, then there would be a huge pushback that you would actually get, saying that the application might actually work properly and you are not testing it properly. Okay, so you would get a huge pushback. So because see, simple, the they have taken years in order to develop that particular application, and now you are telling that that application is not performing well. They some of the performance issues, you might actually have to go back to the drawing board. What do you mean by going back to the drawing board? Yes, guys.
Starting from the
Designing phase. Okay, you would have to start looking at how you have to design that particular project, how you have to code. Okay, so you might actually have to go to the drawing board. That difficult it could be, the performance issue could be. And in those cases, you would get a huge pushback. All the developers would say, hey, you know what? See, in the testing world, the first thing that you would have is whenever you say that there is a defect, what would the developer say? Yes, guys. What would the developer say? Any developers in the session, guys? Pawan is a developer actually. Oh, he just dropped off. But Pawan was a developer. Okay. What would the developer say when there is an issue in the when they find a bug in the testing?
We
Yes,
have
guys.
tested properly. There are no bugs like that.
Exactly. There we have developed properly. For me, it is working fine in my mission. Something is wrong with you and your mission, right?
yes.
So and especially in the waterfall method case, in the agile method, probably it would be a little loose. They might actually take it easier, but then in waterfall method there would be a huge pushback, guys. There would be a huge pushback saying that what, this particular this issue is happening just because you have not tested properly, your scripts are not correct, your test environment is not proper. Okay, so what you have to do is you would actually have to ensure that you should be able to take all those questions, you should have answers to all those questions, and you should be able to give it back. Okay, that would happen in the waterfall method, guys. But in the agile methodology, what would happen? You would need to understand again the begin and close timelines very carefully, whether you would have any breaks in between, how many sprints that you would have to plan the testing for, how many different teams are working on the same project. All this information you would actually have to plan in the agile methodology. Okay, clear, guys? Okay,
Yes.
then in the requirements gathering, if if the project is especially if it is in the waterfall method, is the functionality stable and functional testing is complete, you would actually have to ask that question. And if it is not complete, when would it be complete? And if there are any bugs that are found in the functional testing, what is the plan? All this information you would actually have to ask. Okay, so you would also have to ask the URL, what is the access credentials for the application, so that you can actually do a POC and take it forward. Any preference of the performance test tools, you would actually have to ask. Guys, if you actually joined this particular session a little earlier, you would have actually seen the JMeter UI as well. Okay, how many of you have seen the JMeter UI in the starting of this session, guys? Pawan was actually finishing off the JMeter batch before we started, right? Yes, guys. How many of you have seen? No one? Am I audible, guys?
Yes.
Yes, you.
How many of you have seen the JMeter UI while Pawan was explaining? Take a look at it, guys. It's if you have joined, just take a look at what he's talking about. There is some very good information that Pawan gives as well. Okay.
Just is explaining about a delay response time.
Yes, delay response. No, I'm just talking about the UI, right? So you should have seen the UI, isn't it?
Yes.
Actually, some of couple of guys have actually come in from the JMeter batch as well, isn't it? Who are coming in from JMeter batch? Mangesh, you are from the JMeter batch, right?
Yes.
Right. So, guys, if you see the JMeter UI, and if you go through a little course contents of the JMeter, you would actually understand that the JMeter UI is very not very user friendly, and it is a little. I would not say it is difficult to understand, but you would have to understand. You would have to remember a lot of steps. Okay, you would have to remember a lot of steps. Whereas, because see, guys, JMeter is an open source tool, isn't it? So obviously, nobody has actually concentrated on getting very user-friendly UI. But whereas the load runner, guys, in 1 or 2 days we are actually starting on the load runner, and in the load runner, guys, you would actually be able to see that the UI is very user friendly. It is very easy to understand. It is very easy to go through it. Okay, so it would be it compared to JMeter, load runner would be a cakewalk. Okay, having said that, there is a huge license cost that would be involved for the load runner. Okay, having said that, there would be a huge license cost that would be involved for the load runner. So what would happen is some of these companies, what they would do is they would actually, instead of putting in the license cost, they would actually go for the JMeter tool, and they would actually try to get the testing done with the JMeter, performance testing done with the JMeter. So, guys, but if you go with bigger companies like let's say Vodafone, let's say AT&T, let's say uh, Citibank, let's say Bank of America. Okay, all this major banks, major telecom companies, major defense companies, big companies, they don't want to take a risk, guys. Okay, they don't want to take a risk. So what they would do, this particular license cost is not a big deal for them. So what they would do, they would actually try to just buy the license. Okay, So especially if you are going for if you are going for the bigger companies, then you would actually see that they already have all these particular license tools. But if you are going for a little smaller companies, then especially the startups and all, they don't have the money to actually buy that particular licenses. So they might actually want to go with the JMeter. Okay, clear guys? And now, guys, what happened is, the this particular shift to the JMeter has created so much dent in the load runner's revenue that they have actually come up with this particular concept of giving this particular load runner in the cloud. Okay, so you can actually have this particular Vusion tool for free, this community edition of the load runner for free. You can download this particular community edition. Any small companies, whoever wants to use this particular load runner, they actually can use this particular, for the small smoke tests and everything, they can actually use this particular community edition. And then once they want to do a bigger load test, they can actually make use of the cloud. They can actually make use of the cloud, and they can pay per test. Instead of buying a big license, they can pay per test. Okay, so I want to do one test with 1,000 users for for 2 hours. Okay, from New York. Then the load runner would say, okay, from New York, 1,000 users, so much, this kind of protocol. Okay, this is your cost. It is very, very, minute compared to the complete load runner license cost. But then, it would attract some smaller companies which have some revenue stream. It would attract some smaller companies. That is why they're actually going with this particular cloud approach of the load runner as well, guys. Okay, clear about it, guys?
Got it, Shane.
Yeah. So everybody has their own business strategy, right? So load runner is actually trying to sell the tool as much as possible, whereas JMeter does not try to sell the tool, right? There is no one who is actually trying to sell this across. Somebody wants to use it, they can download it from the open internet, and they can very well use it. Okay, but they would not be able to get any support. Okay, in load runner, let's say you are actually stuck with something. Let's say you have got the script, and when you are actually trying to run the scripts, so one of your load generators is actually creating an issue. If you raise the ticket, if you have actually bought the licenses with the load runner, if you raise a ticket with the load runner, then what would happen? Immediately the load runner support people would actually come. They would connect remotely, and they would actually try to figure out what is the issue with your load generator. Okay, but in JMeter, you're on your own. Nobody is going to support. Okay, but then guys, I'm not undermining the importance of JMeter. There are a lot of small companies which are actually trying to go with the JMeter now, guys, and there are even some bigger companies which are actually going with JMeter these days. Okay, because they want to save a little bit on license cost. Okay, but then that we will, you know, that experiment is not going very, very well. I would not name the company, but probably I told you this before, but I would not name this company. In my last job, whatever, I joined the project before some 5 years. Okay, and when I joined the project, they recruited me as a performance test manager. The basic thing that they want to do at that particular point of time was they wanted to shift from load runner to JMeter. Okay, all their projects they wanted to shift from load runner to JMeter. We have done an excellent job of providing the POC, getting all the all the issues pointed out, and trying to get the stuff done in the JMeter. But then, guys, the client was so hesitant to shift to the JMeter, even though I was the last guy whom they recruited in order to, who did not have JMeter expertise. I know JMeter, but I didn't have the expertise, right? If there is a big problem in JMeter, I cannot, jump in and I cannot solve it. But load runner is a different story altogether. I'm considered as an expert, and I would actually be able to jump in and try to resolve the issue, right? Now, I was the last guy who they recruited as JMeter, load runner expert, and of course, I was my job expectation was not to get the scripts done, it was to manage the team. All right. Now, after that, whomever I have recruited into the team, we have recruited the JMeter experts. We ensured that they have very good knowledge of JMeter. Okay. In spite of having all this, guys, in spite of half of the team being JMeter experts, the client was hesitant in order to get shift to the load runner. Okay. They were like, you know what, we have the money, why don't we spend it? We don't want to scramble when there is an actual issue. Okay. But then that is only one project, guys. There are a lot of other projects that I have seen, which are in my present company. I'm actually seeing that they're actually trying to shift to the JMeter. Okay, there are some projects which are actually running on JMeter. Okay, so both tools are equally important, guys. Ensure that you have good knowledge on both the tools. Okay, because if you are restricted to one tool, then your opportunities are cut to half. And all this initial information, guys, the reason why we are spending so much time on this basics is because all this initial information would actually be the same for both the tools. Yes, guys, I'm going on a spiel. Are you able to understand?
Yes, Sham.
Yes.
Yeah. So ensure that you actually have this particular knowledge of both JMeter and load. All right. So what is the tool preference for this particular project? You would actually get it. Now, guys, one of the another important thing that you would actually have to understand is you would have to do a small POC, and you would have to understand whether that particular tool is capable of getting this particular project done or not. Okay, guys, JMeter is open source. Not everything can be done by JMeter. Please remember that, guys. Not everything can be done by JMeter. Okay, there are a lot of things that JMeter might not actually be able to do, which can, there are a lot of things that only the commercial tools would actually be able to do. Not only load runner, there are a lot of other commercial tools, Silk Performer, NeoLoad, RPT. Okay, so there are a lot of other commercial tools. So whether that particular whatever the tool that you have chosen, whether it would actually be able to do or not, you would have to assess. Okay, and then what are the types of performance testing that have to be performed? As I said, the load test, soak test, and the scalability test. Those usually will be done as a compulsion. Okay, load test, soak test, and scalability test usually would be done as a compulsion. All the others, it is actually a dependent upon the project, and dependent upon the budget. Okay, clear about that, guys?
Yes.
Hi, Sham. I have one question. Murthy here.
Yeah, Murthy.
Is geometer and loader or interdependent, or they are independent?
Independent. Those are two different tools altogether. Loadrunner is a commercial tool. JMeter is a open source tool. These are two different courses altogether. Pawan would actually be taking the JMeter course. I would be taking the Loadrunner course. Okay, two different courses altogether. But having said that, both of them are used for performance testing.
Performance.
So all the performance testing basics that we have been talking about from the past 2 weeks, more than 2 weeks in fact. So all of them are same for both of the tools.
I mean to say that if you want to learn geometer, we need to learn
No,
load runner, or
no, you don't need to. You don't need to.
right? Okay.
Okay, both are independent.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah. Okay, clear about that, guys? Now, what are the types of performance testing that you have to do? You would actually try to get that, and then if there are any firewalls that are affecting in the load testing, we would actually have to ensure that those firewall clearances have to be obtained. Okay, and then, guys, what are the goals of this particular performance testing? What exactly is the goal? You would have to you would have to get the client to define that properly. Okay, because don't assume anything. All right, don't assume anything. For example, let's say you would assume that, okay, all I want to do is I want to do a load test and find out what is the response time, whether the response times are conforming to the SLAs with the specific load. But then the client actually assumes that you would do a scalability test and you would also do a capacity test. What would happen? At the end of the project, you would have a big problem, isn't it? So you would have to understand what exactly is the goal of the performance testing, and you would have to accordingly plan for it. Okay, maybe the client is assuming that you would also do the performance tuning, and maybe you are assuming that the developers would do the performance tuning. Okay, so that again, that would be a big problem. So what exactly is the goal, you would actually have to understand. Okay, and maybe the client is expecting that they have a legacy environment, they have a fresh new environment that they are trying to shift to, and they want to find out what is the improvement in the performance, or what is the problems that they would face when they shift to the new performance environment, a new environment. And if you don't understand that properly, then you did not do the proper performance testing on the legacy environment, then you don't have any metrics to compare to, isn't it? Yes, guys. So you would actually have to understand what is the goal of the performance testing activity properly. Okay, clear about it, guys?
Yeah, Shyam.
Okay, and what is the acceptance criteria for each of the performance test as well, you would actually have to capture. Not only the response times, guys, not only that the response times have to be under such and such SLAs. What is SLA?
Service level
Service
agreement.
level agreement.
Service level agreement. Perfect. Okay, not only that, you would actually need to have the response times under so and so much SLAs. You would also need to ensure that one of the very important thing that you people would forget is the failure rate is. Okay, one of the very important thing that people forget is, in fact, very frankly, in my present project, when in the interview, they asked me, okay, I've had so many years of experience, right? And casually they asked me what is the main goal of the performance testing. And I've been going on a spiel about response times, about the server monitoring, about tuning and everything. And they were asking me, okay, what more, what more? And at the end of the thing, they were joking, they have jokingly said, you know what, Sham, you actually forgot about the failure. I was embarrassed. I was really embarrassed. Like, how can I forget that? Isn't it? So one of the very important thing that you would also do in the performance testing is to ensure that your failure rate is in the acceptable limits. Guys, in an ideal case scenario, you should not have any failures. Absolutely zero failures you should have. Okay, but then that is the that is impossible, right? That is near to impossible. There is not a way that you can actually have zero failures, isn't it? So there could be failures, but they should be under acceptable limits. Okay, clear about it, guys? And what is the kind of acceptance criteria for the server monitoring metrics, like what the CPU should be under, what the memory should be under, all this information you would actually have to capture. Okay, clear about it, guys? And regarding the architecture of the application, what is the type of application, whether it is a 2-tier, 3-tier, n-tier, what are the different tiers that are involved, what are the different uh, different kinds of servers that are involved. All this you would actually find it in the what is the type of application, which technology or platform the application is developed, what database is used in order to develop this particular application, which kind of application server has been used, what is the communication protocol that has been used. What is the protocol, guys? Yes, guys, what is the
Sir,
protocol?
communication.
Set of
Set of
instructions.
rules. Set of accepted rules.
Set of accepted rules that would enable the communication between
Devices, network
between the
devices.
network devices. Perfect. Okay. So what is the communication protocol that is being used? Okay. And any encryption used for sending and receiving request responses, any captchas that could be used. Okay. All that you would actually capture. Okay. And guys, one important thing, one trick question, guys. How do you test the captcha in performance test? What do you mean by captcha, guys? What do you mean by captcha?
Verification code, like,
Do you mean OTP?
yep,
It will be alphanumeric,
uh,
zigzag numbers and zigzag alphabets.
Alphabets. In a lot of websites, guys, when you are actually, trying to, especially when you are trying to register or anything like that, there would be an image that would be shown. Okay, there would be
Yeah.
an image that would be shown, and in that image, there would be some alphanumeric characters. Okay, there would be some characters, A, B, C, D, and so on, and there would be also some numbers, right? And or they would want you to enter in a text box. They would want you to enter exactly whatever is there in that particular image. They would want you to enter that particular information in that particular text box. Okay, and that is the captcha. All right, and guys, 99.99% of the time, we would not be able to handle the captcha in the performance systems. Any kind of performance tool would not be able to handle the captcha. Okay? So they would have to disable the captcha. Okay, clear about it, guys? In order to do the performance testing, they would have to either disable the captcha, or they would have to ensure that only for the performance testing they would actually accept any value that actually comes in to be allowed in the captcha. Okay, clear, guys? Yes, guys.
Yes, Shyam.
Got it.
And what does the target system look like? What is the hardware configuration? What is the software configuration? What is the bandwidth? What is the LAN WAN details? What are the load balancing techniques? All this information you would get. And if there are any known performance issues in the application, especially if the application is already live and all, if there are any known performance issues in the application, one of the transaction is having high response times. There is some transaction, there is this particular server that is actually having high CPU utilization or memory utilization or anything like that, any known performance issues, you would actually try to mention that over here. Okay, so all these requirements. Oh, there are more. Okay, do you any traffic monitoring tools that are deployed on the web servers, like Google Analytics, New Relic? Are there any traffic monitoring tools that are deployed? Okay, is there any dependency on the browser version? Okay, will you provide us separate performance test environment, guys? Usually we would ensure that the performance test environment is equivalent to the production environment. Okay, the performance and test environment should be equivalent to the production environment. Okay, that is, if there is some 100 GB memory in the production environment, there should also be 100 GB memory in the performance test environment. Okay, yes, guys, is that clear? Okay,
Yeah.
now, guys, for the normal servers and all, it is very easy to actually, I mean, it's not very easy, it is still a costly affair, but then it can still be managed. Okay, it can still be managed in the performance test environment to maintain the same kind of uh, you know same kind of environment as in the production. But then, especially when you get into the mainframes, you might not, it might actually become a little more difficult in order to maintain that particular same kind of production environment. Okay, clear about it, guys?
yes, sure.
Guys, if you're not speaking, can you please keep yourself on mute? I would really want you to interact, but I'm getting some background noise.
15 మంది 15
Kirti, thank you. Okay, so those are that you would actually try to understand. And if you are not getting something which is not equivalent to the performance, the production environment, the performance test environment, if you are not getting equivalent to the production environment, in that case, how do you manage it? Okay, how do you scale it? All that we would actually try to get it in the requirements gathering. Okay, and are there any specific requirements for the input data? Also, you would actually get, and how do they access the application? Okay, how do they access the application, whether it is from the web browser, whether it is from the mobile browser, all this information as well, you would actually get it from the in this requirements gathering. Okay, and what are the identified performance test scenarios? Okay, how what do you mean by identified performance test scenarios? Yes, guys. Normally, what you would do, you would actually try to define the performance test scenarios in 3 ways. Okay, you try to define the performance test scenarios in 3 ways. What are those 3 ways? I would again come back to this, guys. But I'm just trying to give you a high level understanding. What are those 3 ways? One,
Login.
you would actually try to understand what are the scenarios that would be used by the end users mostly. The maximum number of times, what are the what are the scenarios that the end users would use? Okay. 2, what are the business critical scenarios? And 3, what are the scenarios that are known to have performance issues? Okay, these are the 3 kind of scenarios that you would usually test for the performance. Okay, clear about it, guys? I would come back to this, guys. Okay, so have you identified any performance test scenarios for your application? We would take those scenarios and we would actually try to document them. Okay, and if this is an application that is already existing, how many users will visit your application in a peak period of time? Okay, and how do you see your users accessing the application? Would there be some sporadic increase in the number of users and all that? You would actually be able to see that. And what is the average user session time? How much time would the users be accessing this particular application? You would actually also be able to get that particular information. Okay, you would actually try to gather that particular you would try to gather that information. Okay, and how many transactions that does the end user do per day in the application? What is the importance of the location of the end users? Also, you would actually try to gather the information. Okay, clear about it, guys? Yes, guys.
Yes.
Guys, there are some more requirements gathering that we would actually go through, but I would stop it at this point. I'm already 15 minutes over time, so I would actually stop it at this point. Do you have any questions?
Yes, Dinesh Desai. So actually, can we have a quick idea on firewall and proxy? What is the
Okay.
firewall and what is the proxy?
All right. Let me take that tomorrow because that's a little bigger discussion. So let me actually take that tomorrow. Okay, and let's also discuss about the firewall and proxy tomorrow. Okay.
And one more thing, Sham. So as you said, we can't do the performance testing for captcha, right? So we need to remove the captchas, everything that request what we are sending. So what
That's right.
about the encrypted request? So encrypted request also it is not recorded in the script. So then what is the procedure do we
No,
follow? Yeah.
encrypted requests are recorded. Encrypted requests are recorded, and you would actually be able to do the performance system. We will go through that in the course.
Uh,
Okay. Don't worry about the encryption. The main the thing that will not be possible is the captcha.
okay.
Okay.
Okay. Sure. Thank you. That's all.
Good questions. So, any other questions, guys? While the session was going on, I actually observed that there were a few guys. Kirti, you joined only today, or were you there
Yes,
before?
sir. Join today only.
Joined today only. Okay. Let me actually put you in the new people. Okay. Uh, Anybody else who joined just today? So Kirti, probably this might actually be a little, overwhelming for you. Not sure what is your background, Kirti?
B.Tech.
When were you
B.Tech
passed out?
2017 passed out.
2017. Okay. And did you do any work in between?
Actually, I worked in hardware testing.
Hardware testing. Very good. Okay.
Yeah. After that, I have a career gap.
All right. All right. Okay. So that would be an interesting perspective that we would also be able to get, Kirti. If you have already worked with hardware testing, probably you would have understood a little bit about what we are talking about today. I really hope.
Yes, yes, yes,
Right. So
yes.
we'll go a little slow. We'll ensure that everybody understands, and we'll also try to ensure that we go through this particular performance test tools very properly. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, and you can actually go through our YouTube channel. So let me actually show you. There is a YouTube channel. One moment. There is this particular YouTube channel that is there, and at the rate Pawan MGM IT training. Do you already have Pawan's number and all?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you can see that there is this Pawan's YouTube channel in which all our prior sessions, we have been taking this batch from the past 2 weeks, all our prior sessions have been uploaded to the YouTube channel. Okay, so you can actually go through them one by one. All right. Okay. And if you want to attend live demo sessions, then we can always accommodate you in one of the next batches. But since the tool has not been started, you can actually continue over here, and you can actually go through the tool now, and you can actually go through the introductory basics a little later. Okay.
Okay.
Any questions?
So Sham, so all these requirement gatherings, the questions which you have explained now, is it must and should that we remember all this?
Yes. So is it must and should that we remember all this? That is a very good question, right? So 90% of the times, guys, what would happen is every company, they're actually developing a requirements gathering questionnaire. Okay, so all these questions would already be there in that particular questionnaire. Now, what you have to do is you would have to understand what that particular question is, what is the importance of that question. Okay, we have gone through so many questions, right? Now you have to understand what is the importance of all these questions in order to ensure that, okay, this is the place wherein you would actually get this particular information so that you can actually use it over there. Got it? And guys, if
Okay.
at some point of time, if somebody actually asks you to prepare this particular requirements gathering questionnaire, then you would have to take the base of all these questions, and you would have to define the requirements gathering document. Sorry, guys.
Shah, could you please repeat what were the performance testing scenarios, the three which we were discussing? I
Yes.
just missed.
Sure. So what are the three important performance testing scenarios? One, what are the scenarios which the end users mostly use? Let me take an example, guys. For example, let's take Amazon.in. Okay, let's take Amazon.in. Okay, now in this Amazon.in, what would you usually do? What would you usually do? You'd search for some items, search for the products. Can you tell me, guys, like, what is the percentage of the searches that you actually end up buying?
Only 70%.
You would buy 70%? Oh man, Amazon should be making a lot of money out of you. I would hardly buy some, if I buy 7%, that would be great. I would keep searching for so many products just for the knowledge. Okay, just for the knowledge, sometimes I keep going through the products. Sometimes let's say I want to buy some product, but then I actually get deviated. Like I see some other ad, and I would actually go through the other product as well, and I start searching through the related products, and I would actually go through them, right? So, and guys, if I understand it right, most of the people are like me. They would hardly buy 1% of the products that they would actually search for. Okay, so but searching is one of the most important feature, isn't it? So the users would use, if I'm getting bad response times while I'm searching, would I go ahead and buy the product? Even if I want to buy, I would go to some other site, isn't it? So even though that is not making business for me, even though only 1% of the searches are actually getting converted into actual business, but search is still a very, very important feature of this particular Amazon application. So what would happen is the Amazon would actually ensure that the search has been very properly performance tested. Okay, how many people would as I was speaking, probably less than 1% would actually pay for the product that they have actually searched for. Okay, a lot of people would even put it in the cart, but then they would not finish the payment. They would just leave it in their cart, isn't it? So how what would be the percentage of people who would actually do the payment? In the best case scenario, it is 1%, right? So can I ignore the payment? Hardly anybody is using the payment, so why should I performance test the payment, isn't it? Can I do that?
No.
No, because that is business critical. Okay, unless somebody pays me, I would not be able to stay in the business, isn't it? That is business critical. Okay, you have to test the mostly used functionalities of the application. You have to test the business critical functionalities of the application, and finally you would also have to test if there are any functionalities that that there is a performance issue. Then you would also have to test those kind of functionalities. Okay, is that clear? Those are the three kinds of scenarios that you would mostly do the performance testing. Yes, guys, is that clear?
Yes.
Yeah.
Any other questions, guys?
Sir, will you show how it will be in the real time, like that requirement gathering in the document and all?
Yes, we will go through all this. Okay, we will when we are actually doing the scripting, I mean before we actually go into this particular application and the tool, we would quickly go through what are the what would be there in the requirements, and we would actually quickly fill up all that. Okay,
Okay.
go through that as part of the course. Clear about it, guys? Any other questions, guys?
Shyam, in our testing application, if we are sending that request from web browser or a mobile browser, so the same request will send it to the server only, right? What is the difference, major difference between web browser and mobile browser?
If you are asking me what is the generally what is the difference between a web browser and a mobile browser, then see guys, you can actually open a web browser, try to access this particular Amazon.in, and open a mobile browser, try to access this mobile Amazon.in. Try to observe what is the kind of difference that is there.
Okay.
In
Some of
the web browser,
things-
you can actually see much more content in one shot.
Yes.
Isn't it? And usually your web browser, when it is actually connected to this particular internet and all, what would happen? when it is connected to the internet and all, usually the web browser, it is actually having, usually, not always guys, but usually you would have much higher bandwidths that are possible in the web browser,
Yes,
right? But whereas in the mobile browser, most of the times, when would people use the mobile browser?
through mobile data.
On the move, through the mobile network, wherein the network is not very reliable, isn't it? It might not have such high network speeds. Of course, now you have 4Gs, 5Gs, and all this guys. So you have extremely high speeds even on the mobile networks. But then, still your screen would be much lesser, and comparatively, your speed also could be a little lesser. Okay, so
Yes.
what you would have to do, you would have to ensure that in the mobile, especially when you are testing from the mobile, your the application that I mean the content that you would actually send to the mobile would be of lesser size, so that even with the lesser less speeds, you would actually be able to download it very very fast, and you would actually be able to view it. Okay, clear about it?
Yeah, got it, Shyam. Thank you.
Yeah. But performance testing of it, would be a completely different ball game, and we'll actually talk about it, guys. Any other questions, guys? All right, guys. So, I know I have overshooted today for a little bit of time. So let me actually stop over here. If there are any other questions, please shoot me on my chat. For the person who has actually joined new, this is my number, guys. Okay, you would also be able to find that on the WhatsApp group chat. If you have already joined the chat, you would also be able to find that on the WhatsApp group chat. Okay, clear, guys?
Yes, sure.
All right, guys, if you do not have any further questions, you can start dropping off. Yeah.
Shyam, one second.
Yeah,
When
please.
you get this material and PPT, Shyam, after completing the course or while going through the course?
While going through the course itself, will once you we are just waiting for people to confirm the registrations. Once the registrations are confirmed, once the batch is finalized, we'll share all this data with everyone.
Yeah, okay. Just received only software, load on a software and web tools software. That's why I'm
Yes, yes.
asking.
And guys, please ensure that you you download those softwares, and you install those softwares. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Sham, will you send this document, Sam?
Yes, yes. Let me share this document with everyone.
Okay, Sham. Thank you.
And guys, this particular notes I have actually written on a very high level. So please ensure that you have all the connectivity. Okay.
Okay.
All right, guys. I'm stopping the recording. Let me actually stop sharing.